What if we judged every ad in Cyberpunk like it was really going on TV? Would any of them make it, or would every single one be banned? Well, thanks to this PDF I found online, we have the official code for broadcasting to Australian television. I would have done America, but your rules are scattered everywhere and networks are very secretive about them. Here in Oz, we have one clear public rule set. So here's our tier list. Level 1 is the GPG classification label. It's unrestricted, meaning the ad could air on television at any time. Level 2 is the M classification label. It means the content is lightly restricted and can only be shown at night from 7:30 p.m. to 6 a.m, aka the kids are asleep. It can also be shown sneakily at lunchtime from 12 to 3 p.m. on school days, aka the kids are at school. Level 3 is the MA15 Plus classification label, which means it's heavily restricted and can only be shown at night from 8:30 p.m. to 5 a.m. Basically, the kids are definitely asleep. Level 4 is the R18 Plus classification, which means it's banned to show on free-to-air TV. And level 5 is the ultra banned category because the ad would be completely rejected from classification altogether, usually because it breaks some kind of law. Can I get through all of these without getting demonetized? Only time will tell. Starting with Budget Arms, which is the cheap entry-level weapons brand of Night City, because poor people also need to kill. Australia doesn't have a Second Amendment, so this would be classified as misleading, but if we ignore that, we still have a woman about to shoot and kill a guy for real. And let me tell you, Australia does not F with guns. This is an ad for season 3 of The Walking Dead, which was put on buses and billboards. It got a bunch of complaints and was ultimately deemed fine and compliant, but listen to how careful the agency had to be when making this. In the case report, they defended the gun in the ad by saying, this image was deliberately chosen not to exaggerate the gun size, not to be the focus or main eyeline of the ad, not to be pointed directly at viewers or any living object or individual, not to glorify gun use in society, and finally, the gun usage is relevant to the context of the show because the guy holding the weapon is a sheriff and the story is about him fighting zombies to survive. Meanwhile, we have a woman being encouraged to kill a guy because that's the point of the product. Yeah, this would be ultra banned. This next ad is for Arasaka's Environment Protection Service. We've got a poacher's car being vaporized by an orbital laser in the back. The violence is clear but distant, there's no gore, no weapon aimed at the viewer, so it's only a moderate impact. That would give this ad a slightly restricted M rating. New empires focus on winning this fall, you disgusting loser. It's stylish, it's a bit revealing, but there's no nudity, no violence, no profanity. This woman's pose is emphasizing her cleavage and hips, but it's not overt, so I think that counts as moderate sexualization, which would give it a slightly restricted M rating. Next up is the foreign body brain dance, and this is me trying to keep a spoonful of ice cream out of my mouth. But it's really a piece of cyberware that's turned on the user. So I think you'll get to experience actually stabbing yourself to death, which is fun. We've got some strong, realistic violence with a knife about to plunge, terror on the guy's face. That's definitely strong impact violence, but there's no graphic gore, sex, drugs, or profanity, so it wouldn't be banned. It would probably just be heavily restricted MA15. Avanti is a luxury Italian brand in Cyberpunk. It's the Golden Rome Spring Collection, and if this guy sneezes, that shirt will rip and become a crop top immediately. I would know because I've also put on weight and this shirt is too tight. Very mild sexualization here, no nudity or suggestive posing, no violence, drugs, or adult themes. This is a certified unrestricted GPG rating, finally something for the kids. Next is a recruitment poster for the Night City Police Department. There's no visible weapons, but the image shows a militarized police dropship and armored officers repelling. That most likely lands in moderate threat or menacing behavior, which would put this ad in the slightly restricted M category. There's no gore or direct violence to push it to MA15, but the scenario is too intense to be completely unrestricted. Instead of being such a grotesque video game playing degenerate who barely looks after themselves, why not fix just that last thing with Factor? I know I insulted you quite heavily in that previous statement. Let me also say this, you fragile little bitch. You're a future billionaire whose time is extremely valuable. And I've always said that about you. Every minute you waste cooking your own food is time you could have spent buying stocks and looking at feed pics. Factor's healthy and convenient ready-made meals are the solution to the aforementioned prob. This is the food you cook at home. Shameful and makes Gordon Ramsay sad. But this is a roasted garlic chicken from Factor. Whimsical and giving you a back massage after a hard day's work. Are you tired of having to meet your own caloric needs? What are you? A wild animal? Come back to civilization where we have towels and let Factor cook your meals. With all that time and energy saved, you can finally do that thing you've wanted for like 2 years now, you chronic procrastinator. So head to factor75.com or click the link below and use code 50JES to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first Factor box. That's code 50JES at factor75.com to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Sponsored by Factor, and I'm currently inside your house. Hello, DTR Freight Logistics, where they proudly claim to have tripled fuel consumption to send more plastic to Australia. God, I love the honesty honesty here. Instead of the usual corporate greenwashing, we get to celebrate pollution as progress. And as an Australian, we do need more plastic. If I'm not concerned about toxic microplastics in my balls, am I even alive? There's no violence, sex, drugs, or profanity though, so this one's going fully unrestricted, God bless. Next up is an ad for All Foods, the synthetic food and drink corporation. This image is obviously based on Mark Hamill's green milk humiliation ritual. Luke was never the hero, and if you liked him, then you just didn't get Star Wars, and you're a bad person. But this ad is interesting because it would either be completely unrestricted, or it would be rejected for being misleading. Because the All Foods milk product is described as generic milks colored with the purest calcium carbonate, which is corporate BS for ultra cheap lab-made fake milk, colored with white chalk powder. But the cow in the ad strongly implies real dairy, which is deceitful. So as it is, this would most likely be flagged as misleading, which means the ad company would refuse to issue a classification code, so it's illegal to broadcast. This next ad is actually my autobiography. So I don't know how that got in the game, pretty crazy. Specifically, Mr. Stud is a cyberware implant that gives you infinite stamina in the bedroom. They also do implants and accessories. This is strong sexualized imagery. The multiple hands groping implies a group activity, which counts as strong impact. So that would land it at least in the heavily restricted MA15 area. It's not explicit though, so it probably doesn't tip all the way into banned, unless people complain that it goes against prevailing community standards, which is very possible. But for now, MA15. The next ad is for a Bedos King Size, which is an alcoholic beverage. I love the stunning, risque Egyptian pinup imagery. Being an alcoholic beverage in Australia, it would be required to have some kind of drink responsibly disclaimer somewhere that's reasonably prominent. Without that, it would get rejected, but let's pretend it has that. The phallic bottle placement and head position of Cleopatra make this strong sexualization. There's no doubt about it. The woman on the bottle does have her jugs out, so that's stylized nudity, but they're not accompanied by any intercourse or genital stuff, so it's probably only MA15, heavily restricted. The next ad is for real water. There's so much toxicity in Night City that uncontaminated water is rare and expensive. Even the guy selling the healthiest thing in existence still looks like a meth addict. Now, at first glance, this ad is a GPG slam dunk until you read the disclaimer in the bottom corner. Part of it reads, does not apply to clients based in Pacifica, Night City. If you've played Cyberpunk, you know that Pacifica is a poverty-stricken, predominantly black district. Uh-oh, now we have a problem, because targeting a racial ethnic group like this almost certainly counts as discrimination, which is prohibited by the Code of Ethics. So as it stands, this ad would be totally rejected for classification. Then we have all-world insurance. Don't you hate it when grandma's covered in oozing sores again, while the sink pours Chernobyl fluid? Stop touching it, grandma. Just use a baby wipe, for God's sake. Anyway, this is mild body horror with no violence, sex, or profanity, so this ad is most likely rated M, slightly restricted. Next, we have the at least you're wearing Jinguji ad. Yes, you just overdosed and maybe died, but you looked fly as hell while doing it. This brand is the Japanese equivalent of Gucci in Cyberpunk. I love this ad, it's so darkly unhinged. Couple of minor problems here though. It both glamorizes, that's bad, and trivializes, also bad, hard intravenous drug usage. Showing illegal stuff favorably is giga frowned upon. This ad would be rejected. Wet dream, we've all had one. Me recently. This ad is for a Braindance cartridge. Now, I might be overthinking this, but based on the word exploitive in the tagline, considering the guy's asleep and it says you can be the dream or the dreamer, is it saying you can ravage a person who's asleep or be ravaged while you're asleep? I feel like that's what it means. So MA15 would require implied sexual activity, but wet dream is not implied. It's a promise. Also, non-consenting sexual stuff has to be very negatively framed to get in MA15. This ad is far too positively framed. That's literally the point of the BD. Either way, this would at least be banned R18+, in my opinion. Next up is El Guapo's adult toys. The unicorn's horn is obviously a didlo, and in-game it actually moves in and out of the unicorn's head. A thrusting motion, if you will. Now, overall, the ad looks reasonably tame, but because we have an animal in a sexy time context, we're actually in bestiality territory here. I know, it's exciting. In the guidelines, it says that fetish or explicit sexual material is unclassifiable. So we're above banned here in the rejected category. This next ad is for the Sojasil Machistador. The artist, Luke Polar, said the creative brief was to show a candy bar eaten by soldiers on the battlefield during a major war. In Spanish, soja means soy, like soybeans, and machistador is probably derived from the word machista, which is widely used to describe a chauvinistic male or macho man. Clever wordplay, I'm rock hard. The ad itself is stylized gore, and the code puts moderate impact horror or violence in stylized form as an M rating. Slightly restricted. One of the most iconic ads in the game, 3 mouths, 1 desire, the Sasha Devon experience. The same artist, Luke Polar, said he was inspired by the 1990 film Total Recall, where a chick has 3 breasts at one point, except he said the artwork didn't catch on in the studio and he had to fight really hard to get it in the game, saying this was the first time in his career he had ever had to fight like that and was really glad he didn't give up on the piece. That being said, we do have strong sexualized imagery with body modification and implied oral pleasure, which would land this in the MA15 heavily restricted category. There's no visible genitals or intercourse, so we don't have to go R18+. Shout out to Sasha, keep up the great work. The next ad is Thrud's Follow Your Instincts, which is a cyberware peripherals company. I can't find the actual product in-game, so I did some digging, and in the English localization CSV file, there's an entry that says, Thrud Combat Stim, follow your instincts. So that's what the product is. Become Satan and fight people. It's stylized violence and horror, but mild, not that graphic. A bit too intense for PG, so probably lands in the M slightly restricted category. Next up is Dinalars, It's All About the Touch. This is a cyberware manufacturing corporation. They make stuff like Sandevis stands and prosthetic limbs. Wouldn't you like to replace your arm with a robotic one that could actually pleasure a woman? I know I would. This is mild sexualized imagery with bare shoulders, parted lips, clear pleasure, but no nudity or explicit act. The guidelines list sexualized poses with moderate impact as M slightly restricted. The next ad is for Joe Teal's Down Home Okie Hooch. Bit of a long name, let's shorten it. The slogan "Too Good to Waste" does encourage street-level binge drinking and frames the act as desirable, which is gonna be a huge effing prob, because according to the ABAC Responsible Alcohol Marketing Code, depictions that encourage irresponsible or unsafe alcohol consumption, including excessive, rapid, or otherwise dangerous drinking, are forbidden. And if licking alcohol off the pavement doesn't count as excessive, then I don't lick my wife's juicy dessert that she makes me. This ad would be immediately rejected for classification. Australia does not F around with alcohol because most people here have a drinking problem. This next ad is for a brain dance of a guy's actual crucifixion. This was one of the most harrowing quests in the entire game, and I still think about it to this day. Shout out Jesus, he actually did that. Couldn't be me though. These are strong adult themes with overt depictions of self-harm, torture, and execution. The guidelines are very sensitive to any mockery or satire of religion, but considering the thoughtful and respectful tone of the Joshua Stevenson quest, I don't think this ad is mean-spirited at all. It would fall under the artistic commentary use case. So with the stylized gore, religious shock value, and mature subject matter, this would most likely be rated MA15, heavily restricted. The next ad is Delamain, leave your problems at the door. We have a lone passenger sprinting into an AI-driven cab under heavy gunfire. At a glance, this ad seems pretty tame and straightforward, except the skid marks behind the tires imply reckless driving that, if copied, would actually breach road safety rules. And the motoring codes prohibit ads that condone or encourage unsafe or irresponsible driving. So as is, this ad would be rejected for classification altogether from those dinky effing tire marks. The next ad is for speed loans. Your neighbor already called, you broke little peasant. The ad itself would be GPG, totally unrestricted, if it wasn't for one pesky detail. This is a credit-based financial product, so it has to meet responsible lending standards. The Australian Securities and Investments Commission requires credit ads give clear cost warnings and not pressure vulnerable consumers. Targeting poor people and saying your neighbor already called is a transcendent level of peer pressure. Therefore, in its current state, this ad would be rejected. Up next is Bolshevik vodka, so strong it glows. Lot of problems here. First of all, anything encouraging rapid or excessive intake of alcohol, forbidden. Anything that encourages a drink based on its high alcohol content or potency, forbidden. Anything alcoholic being slightly cartoony that might appeal to minors, forbidden. This ad isn't just banned, it's ultra banned because it would be rejected. Next up is Slaughterhouse, satisfy your instincts. I love this ad and would buy this product in a heartbeat. The saw blade in the O is a nice touch. The ad shows visible blood around the guy's mouth, which counts as strong impact violence, but there's no severed flesh or exposed organs, so it stops short of very strong or gratuitous gore. The context actually matters here as well, because the guy is eating, it's not assault or torture, so that softens the overall impact. With all this in mind, it's probably MA15 heavily restricted. Next up is Mr. Whitey's Sweet Clean Speed Candy Bar. which I am already addicted to just by looking at it. Even though I love the ad and the product, take my money, we aren't allowed to glamorize or even normalize illicit drug use. This would get rejected for classification faster than a crypto bro can rug pull you. Next, we have Naranjita's energy drink. Feel the chemistry. That word chemistry is doing a lot of heavy lifting here because it's chemical chemistry, but also sexual chemistry with the finger pose. That's right, hard-hitting analysis here at TH3 Incorporated. We do have some similar cases of provocative gestures like this. For example, this one from the 2011 Friends with Benefits movie poster. It's pretty comparable in terms of impact level, maybe slightly less than the Cyberpunk ad. At the time, this one was deemed to be moderate impact, placing it in the M slightly restricted category, which I think we can also apply to the Naranjita ad. Maybe MA15 if you want to be strict, or if it got complaints, which it probably would. So actually, now that I say that, the safe rating would be MA15. This next ad is interesting because Moon Cheese is just a food bar. It doesn't actually get you high as best I can tell. They just want you to eat the bar when you are high. But here's the problem. I have a tiny penis. No, that's unrelated. Showing someone drunk or high can only be done if the message is negative or cautionary. So ads that normalize or celebrate drug use are in breach of the code. Because this ad has a light-hearted tone, showing someone who's stoned with no warning or negative outcome, it would be actually rejected for classification. It still counts as glamorizing drug use even if the act itself is not shown. RIP Moochies. This next ad is for More Technology's Body Without Limits. It's a full-body Chrome conversion. Lizzie Wizzy is their most famous client. You might have seen her in game. The woman is fully nude and anatomically detailed, which you do love to see. This is strong but not explicit nudity. The violence is stylized and mild with no gore. So overall, this would land in the MA15 category, heavily restricted. Anything lower has to treat nudity with sensitivity, and this just wouldn't qualify for that in my opinion with how visible the cans are. The next ad is for tamponizer. Feel confident when you need it the most. Shoot that thing right up in your hole or something. I don't actually know what this does. It's definitely tested on animals though, so that's nice. Actually, you might be surprised to know the tested on animals claim doesn't hurt the ad at all. It's only if you show or endorse animal cruelty in the ad that it can cause a breach and affect compliance. The period blood is fine too. In a 2019 commercial, Libra showed period blood running down a woman's leg in the shower, got over 600 complaints, then the watchdog ruled it was fine and dismissed them all. Lamau. Overall, this ad would probably be M, slightly restricted for moderate medical detail. Next up, we have the latest in cutting-edge Super Soaker technology, the Squirtaquisitor 7000. Do you want an orgasm so violent you'll blow your own brains out? Well, don't come to me, that's way above my pay grade. Adult toy ads are fine in Australia as long as there's no nudity and it's done tastefully. There are strong sexual cues in this ad, but nothing graphic, so it stays below an R18+. Most vibrator ads like this get the MA15 heavily restricted treatment, permissible for mature audiences at an appropriate time. The next ad is Kane Tao's You Shoot, We Aim smart weapons. Look, as best I can tell, this woman is literally shooting military soldiers to death. Let's just say, no matter how you spin this, it's an ultra ban. This would never even make it to classification. It would be rejected. Next up is body implants. Do you hate your meat? Let me tell you, extreme graphic self-mutilation is surprisingly frowned upon. Let's compare this to a 2016 Crime Stoppers ad from the UK. The UK has very similar ad standards to Australia, so we can do this. I mean, it's my video, so I can do whatever I want, but I'm just letting you know I checked. The guidelines are similar. Anyway, it shows a real heart that's implied to have been ripped out of someone's chest, and the advertising watchdog banned the commercial for likely causing undue stress to children. We can get around that problem though, because television has time slots and we can wait until the kids go to bed. So considering the strong impact violence, we can't put this ad in anything less than R18+, which means it's legal but banned from free-to-air TV. The next ad is probably my favorite in all of Cyberpunk. Bodyweight life preservation systems, S-Certs 3000. Just in case you try to unalive yourself, take these so you can survive your own self-deletion. However, shooting yourself in the head does go against the code of ethics, community health and safety standards, so this is an automatic rejection for classification, obviously. But hey, I like the ad, so I included it as a little treat for myself. This next one is for cigarettes. Where there is smoke, there is Vargas. God, that's so clever. I have to give it to them. I don't even smoke cigs, but I'll think about it. Here's the thing though, in Australia, you can't even show people smoking at all. It immediately breaches the code's prevailing community standards on health and safety. Since 1992, it's been illegal to promote smoking or tobacco on TV here. Even if this wasn't a cigarette ad, glamorizing a reckless use of explosives would also get it rejected for clearance. So this one's a double giga rejected, not even suitable to be banned. There was a bunch of X-rated actual prawn ads that I literally couldn't show in this video. You know the ones. Also, if an ad was too boring or similar to another ad, or the rating was too obvious, I tried not to include them just so I could be a bit more entertaining. We covered a good range though, don't even start with me. Anyway, if you want to get in the credits, hit the Patreon link below, but at least check your sub to the channel, you filthy little freak bitch. I actually made another video about Cyberpunk's ads, basically just gushing about how much I love them, and that's on screen right now, so check it out.